Welcome to Mindforce Technology. We are Training Institute and Placement Center.
Right into this. Today we're going to talk about a story that's, well, it's pretty simple on the surface, but it's one of those that really sticks with you. It's about a teacher, a little boy, and how a single act of kindness can completely change the course of a life. It's a powerful reminder to always look beyond what you think you see. So, our story kicks off on the first day of school. We've got a 5th grade teacher, Mrs. Thompson, standing in front of her brand new class. And she does what so many great teachers do. She makes a promise. She looks at all those little faces and tells them she loves them all the same.
But, it's never quite that simple, is it? Even when we have the best intentions, we all have our blind spots. And as the story puts it so perfectly, hearts have a way of telling a different story. And that different story, it really starts with one particular student. Which brings us to our first part here, the unseen boy.
This was the boy Mrs. Thompson's promise didn't quite reach, Teddy Stoddard. And here's the thing, he sat right there in the front row, but in all the ways that mattered, he was totally invisible. You know the picture, slumped in his chair, clothes all wrinkled, and just this quiet sadness hanging around him that most people, including her, just walked right past.
Now, what's so brutally honest about this story is that she didn't just overlook him. She actively judged him. She saw his messy work and didn't see a cry for help, she just saw a problem. She'd cover his papers in these heavy red X's and even felt a little jolt of satisfaction writing a big F at the top. She never even thought to ask, why?
But then, something shifted. A moment came that would change absolutely everything. The moment she finally decided to look past the grades and into his history. And that discovery unfolds right here in A Story in the Files.
So Mrs. Thompson pulled Teddy's school records, and what she found, laid out in black and white, wasn't the story of a failing student at all. It was the story of a grieving son. 1st grade, a bright child with a ready laugh, a joy to be around, just a happy kid. 2nd grade, excellent student, but his mother has a terminal illness. And there, the struggle begins. 3rd grade, his mother passed away, his father is distant. And then, 4th grade, there he was, the boy she knew. Withdrawn, sleeps in class, doesn't have many friends.
And right there, that's the moment of her heartbreaking realization. The truth was there the whole time, just sitting in a file. She hadn't been looking at a lazy student, she had been looking at a broken little boy and seeing him as a problem. And the really devastating part, she had never once thought to look for his story.
So, armed with this painful new understanding, her entire perspective just flipped. And her first real chance to act on it came right before the holidays. This leads us to a really pivotal scene, the Christmas gift.
You can just picture it. All the other kids brought gifts and bright paper and fancy ribbons. But Teddy's was different. It was just wrapped in a crumpled brown paper grocery bag. And inside, a rhinestone bracelet with a few of the stones missing and a bottle of perfume that was nearly empty.
Now, as you'd expect, a few of the other kids started to giggle. But Mrs. Thompson, the new Mrs. Thompson, she didn't hesitate for a second. In that split second, she didn't scold them, she showed them. She immediately put the bracelet on her wrist, dabbed on the perfume, and told the whole class how absolutely beautiful it all was. She saved his dignity right there.
Later that day, after all the other kids had gone home, Teddy stayed behind. And that's when he explained everything without really explaining at all. He just looked up at her and said, so quietly, "Mrs. Thompson, today you smelled just like my mom used to. That perfume, that bracelet, they were his mother's."
The story says she closed the door after he left, sat at her desk, and just cried. That one small human connection changed her entire reason for being there. Because that was the day she stopped being a teacher of math and English. That was the day she became a teacher of children. And she started with Teddy.
And that transformation, it wasn't just for a semester. It forged a bond that would last a lifetime, which we see in this next section, A Life in Letters.
Years went by, but Teddy never forgot the teacher who finally truly saw him. A letter came saying he'd finished high school, 3rd in his class. Another one arrived when he graduated from college with honors. And then, the one that must have made her heart just swell with pride. It was signed not by Teddy, but by Theodore F. Stoddard, M.D.
But the final letter held the biggest honor of all. Teddy was getting married. He told her his father had passed away, and then he asked her something incredible.
He asked if Mrs. Thompson would come to his wedding and sit where the mother of the groom was supposed to sit.
Of course, she said yes, which brings us to this beautiful full-circle conclusion of their story in our final section, the teacher's teacher.
On the day of the wedding, Mrs. Thompson was there, and she didn't just show up as a guest. She came as a living piece of his story. She was wearing that very same bracelet, still with its missing stones. And of course, she wore the perfume.
When Teddy saw her, he hugged her tight and whispered what he'd probably been wanting to say for years. "Thank you for believing in me. Thank you for making me feel like I mattered."
But her response, this is the part that gets me every time. Through her own tears, she whispered back to him, "Teddy, you have it all wrong. You were the one who taught me. I didn't know how to truly teach until the day I met you."
And that's the real heart of it, isn't it? Kindness is never, ever a one-way street. This wasn't just about a teacher saving her student. It was about a student saving his teacher too. And it's a really powerful thought to leave you with. Sometimes, the person we think we are helping is quietly saving us.
Thank you for watching our video. Like, subscribe and share video to your friends and family.